Lumi and Ajax were sitting in the old cottage. It was really quiet as the two awkwardly stared at Dix Nox. Time seemed to stretch on for an eternity as Dix Nox scanned over Lumi and Ajax with his grey eyes. Lumi finally spoke in a curious yet shy tone. "Why would you have such an ancient name?" "I keep it, so I can remember a place now forgotten," Dix Nox answered, his voice slightly dripping with a tone of sadness. "Anyways, let's talk about the reason I brought you two here. I heard that Lumi might possess a hidden type." "Someone weak like me cannot have a hidden type. Only the strong have hidden types," Lumi responded. She looked away, avoiding eye contact. She looked sad. "Don't fool yourself and your nonsensical delusion about hidden types," Dix Nox shouted towards Lumi. "Weak, strong, it doesn't matter. Your chance of getting a hidden type is the same as everybody else regardless of strength." Lumi looked shocked. No one had ever shouted at her like that. She looked over at Ajax, but as she looked at him, she felt a weird feeling, like butterflies in her stomach. He was sitting quietly just watching the conversation. And then, with a meek voice, she asked Dix Nox, "How would you know?" Dix Nox picked up his now cold stew and began eating it, and he spoke with a calm yet stern voice, "Because I have one." Lumi's eyes flickered with a curious hope. She asked Dix Nox, "Then what do you know about hidden types?" "A hidden type is not a tool for the strong to stay strong. It is a tool for the weak to become strong. I may be strong now, but I was once weak," Dix Nox responded, his voice sounding proud, but also like he was holding back tears. "Why does it sound like you want to cry?" Ajax asked. No longer silent, his heavy voice caught Lumi and Dix off guard. "Unpleasant past," Dix Nox answered Ajax sternly. "I don't want to go into it." Lumi began to walk toward a cupboard, the floor creaking under her small feet. Reaching down, she picked up one of the old medals that lay there, holding it up for Dix Nox to see. "Is this connected to your past?" Lumi asked calmly. "Yes, it is. However, you must remember I didn't bring you to my house so we can talk about my past. We came to talk about you having a hidden type," Dix Nox answered, his voice sounding angry. "All right then. Let's continue to speak about hidden types," Lumi responded, her voice having a hint of fear. Quickly, Lumi sat down, the old chair creaking beneath her weight. She stared down at her cold stew, unsure how to act in front of Dix Nox. Lumi and Ajax stared blankly at Dix Nox before he spoke calmly. "Lumi, when you spoke with this shadowy figure, what exactly did it say?" "They said premonitions are possible, but they don't work against me unless you have a hidden type ability," Lumi answered, her heart pounding fast. "Can I know how you know about this shadowy figure?" "I know I didn't tell you. I overheard you while you were speaking to your friend. However, it seems this figure is strong or pretentious, and it seems like they could possess their own hidden type." Dix Nox said, his voice filled with intrigue. "Hey Lumi, could I check your soul? I want to test if you do have a hidden type." "Is that even possible?" Lumi asked, her voice filled with curiosity. "Yes, it is. However, if you have a hidden type, I cannot see the details about it," Dix Nox responded. "Then, go ahead," Lumi replied. Dix Nox stood up from his seat and walked over toward Lumi, his heavy footsteps creaking heavily on the floor, and he placed his hand on Lumi's head. A purple glow started to envelop Lumi. "You have very few abilities, but it seems like you do have a hidden type," Dix Nox said, calmly. What's He cut himself off as he spoke. Lumi felt the cold touch of metal pressed against her throat. As she looked down, she saw a pitch-black falchion held by Dix Nox. He looked very pissed. Black falchion with a red spine. Dix Nox. Lumi thought to herself, her heart pounding rapidly. There is no way. How did I run into him? Why did I run into him? Dix Nox, the god beheader. Time seemed to slow as Lumi looked over at Ajax, who was standing up from his chair. Looking back towards Dix Nox, she noticed he was looking at Ajax. Taking this moment, she kicked her leg into the chair. As she hit the ground, she narrowly dodged a swing from Dix Nox. She quickly made her way towards Ajax, while Dix Nox just stared at her. "Why are you doing this? If you wanted to kill us, you would have done it far earlier," Lumi shouted at Dix Nox. "You already know, don't you? You cannot hide it any longer. Lumi, you're a god." Dix Nox, angrily shouted towards Lumi, his grey eyes giving a death stare at Lumi. No, she isn't a god. You can't be joking, Ag said, looking over to Lumi to confirm. No, he's right. I'm a god. It's not like the others consider me one, Lumi answered, her voice shy and her heart still beating rapidly. Ajax was standing there, his mouth agape. Lumi, if you have a title, what is it? Deax Nox asked angrily. Among the gods, I am known as Lumi, the weakest god, Lumi replied, sadness evident in her voice. But why would the god beheader want to kill me? I've done nothing to you. You gods took everything from me. I thought I killed the last of them 1,000 years ago, but a few must have slipped through. Deax Nox shouted at Lumi, a tear forming in his eye as he walked toward her. Ajax quickly made his way around the back of the table, where he slammed a chair into the back of Deax Nox with a loud audible thud. As Deax turned back toward Ajax, he noticed that the wooden chair was now made from steel. As Deax Nox stared at the steel chair, he looked toward the exit. Before speaking in a cold voice, Uriel, you can come in. There were a few seconds of pure silence before the door creaked open, and a tall man with golden eyes came walking into the cottage. He stood with his back straight, and with his white hair combed back. Don't even start with me, Uriel. You are going to go on about how I shouldn't kill her because she might have a family. Deax Nox cut Uriel off before he could even speak. You are just a family man with a powerful ability, so stay out. We may have only met a few weeks ago, but you seem to know me well. You're right, I don't think you should kill her, however, not for the reason you think. She was one of us when Ansgar stared at us. If we are going to figure out who that was, we need her alive. Uriel answered, his voice calm and polite. Deax Nox, upon listening to what Uriel had to say, before dropping his falchion, the entire room was enveloped in red lightning before the blade disappeared. Deax Nox turned to Lumi, and he asked her in a cold voice, do you know who Ansgar is? Lumi looked towards Deax Nox, and she thought, these are the strongest humans I've ever seen. Deax Nox, a human that killed all the gods, ruler of his home planet. And Uriel, I don't know much about him, but his aura tells me he could destroy this world easily. I have no clue who Ansgar is, but when he had that fight with Kalen, I saw his sword, and it triggered a response to me, which showed me a premonition I had the previous night, Lumi said, her voice shaky. And from what I gather, your premonition led you to meet that shadowy figure. Do you know who they could be? Deax Nox asked, his voice now in a curious tone. I don't know exactly, but I have a feeling it's EGS, someone who I've feared for most of my life, Lumi responded, her eyes focusing on Deax's hands while she spoke. EGS? Who is that? I've never heard a name like that, Uriel asked Lumi while looking at Deax Nox. The elder god of suffering. He is a god that makes every other being look weak in comparison, Lumi answered, her voice becoming quiet. Regardless of how strong he is, I will kill him. Like all other gods, Tier 2 immortals are simple for me to kill, Deax Nox responded, his voice dripping with confidence. Deax Nox, based on the way she described him, I doubt it would be that easy, Uriel told Deax Nox. Tier 3 EGS has Tier 3 immortality, not Tier 2 like the rest of us, Lumi responded. That isn't possible. There is nothing with Tier 3 immortality. Don't lie to me, Deax Nox shouted at Lumi. Deax Nox, what is a Tier 3 immortal? Uriel asked Deax Nox. Tier 3 immortality, also known as perfect immortality. Nothing will be able to kill one, Deax Nox responded. Lumi interrupted Uriel, I'm not lying about EGS being Tier 3, and there are more than him, 9 others have it. Both Uriel and Deax Nox stop talking, and they simply stare at Lumi dumbfounded. Taking this moment, both Ajax and Lumi run out of the old cottage, making it down the hill slightly before running into a wall that just appeared there. It covered the entire cottage, and it smelled of iron. Lumi and Ajax stood there not knowing what to do. Suddenly she felt her body lose control, and she just grabbed Ajax and pulled him into a hug before crying, thinking this was where she died. Out from the cottage, out came Uriel. His footsteps were light on the grass. As he got closer, he bent down to look at Lumi, and in a calm, caring voice he said, Deax Nox and we came to the decision to spare you, but it's late, so go clean up and you can sleep here tonight. We'll talk after tomorrow's festival. Uriel stood up and began walking towards the wall, disappearing as he walked through it. Lumi and Age stared at each other before crying once more. They weren't going to die, they thought. Both Ajax and Lumi stood up prepared to head inside. Letting Ajax go ahead of her, Lumi contemplated running away. Knowing how strong these humans are, I won't make it far, she thought, while staring at Ajax. I think I'm falling in love with that man. Lumi carried on inside, where she ate the cold stew she left on the table. She wasn't sure she could trust DX Nox, but she felt a sense of security being in his old cottage. She laid down in a bed. It was soft and warm. As Lumi closed her eyes, she fell asleep quickly.